right? So now, as you can see, we are passing number 80 to this punch power instance variable. Let's get this value from the user, right? Let's allow the user to enter an integer value. So here, I can create a variable of type integer. So int. So here I can say number. The name of my variable is going to be number, for example, assignment operator. And here I can say console dot read line. Read line. So because this is actually a method, I need to put a pair of parentheses at the end of the method name and then put a semicolon here. So again, because we are going to actually assign a value to a variable that is of type integer, and this method read line is going to return a value of type string, we cannot assign a value of type string to a variable that is of type integer. So here we need to actually parse, or we need to actually convert this string value to an integer value. So here I'm going to say int dot parse. Okay, int dot parse. Let me actually call it again with capital P, and then put this piece of code, this console.read line, inside the parenthesis. So it's going to actually get this string value from the user, and it's going to convert it to an integer value, and then we can assign it to this number variable. And here, when I want to assign, or when I want to set the punch power for the myboxer instance, I can just put number here, number, so that we get the value from the user. Let's actually debug the application again. At the top, just click on start here. And now I am in line number 14. Inside this autos area, you can see that we have the args, which is going to be the arguments, and we have the myboxer instance, which is now null because the boxer instance here is not yet created. If I execute this line of code here in line number 14, if I click on this actually step over, it's going to execute this line of code here in its entirety, and it's going to create the myboxer instance. So let's click on this actually step over here. And now in the autos area, you can see it says myboxer. So it is actually created. An instance of type boxer class is created, and we have this instance variable punch power, which is actually private. So now it is about to execute this line of code here. It is about to output the value of the punch power instance variable of the boxer by using this get punch power. So this time we don't want to use actually step in. We just want to execute this line of code here in its entirety. So just click on step over, and this line of code here is executed, and the value of the punch power instance variable is 0, which is going to be the default value. So you are already familiar with that. And now it's about to execute line number 19. It's about to actually get the value from the user, and it's going to convert that value to an integer value, and it's going to assign that value to this number variable. So here in the autos area, you can see this variable number, right? Which, as you can see, for now it's just 0. We haven't still assigned a value to this variable here yet. So now another important point here is that if the user actually enters a value that is not an integer value, our application is going to crash. Here we have to actually handle that exception. So I'll talk more about exception handling later. For now, just don't worry about that, and just make sure that you actually enter an integer value. Here we are going to trust the user that he or she actually enters absolutely an integer value. So now here, I am going to actually again click on this step over in order to execute this line of code here in its entirety, and it's going to actually show us the console. So it's going to ask us to enter a value here. As you can see, I haven't prompted the user to actually enter the value. I just wanted to enter the value here. If you want to, you could actually just prompt the user to enter an integer value. So now the console area is shown to us, and we are supposed to enter a value here. For example, number 90. And let's actually press on enter key on our keyboard in order to execute this line of code here. And now in the console, in the autos area, you can see that it says number, and the value of this number variable is now 90 because I passed the value 90 to this variable here, right? And now it's about to execute the line number 21. myboxer.setPunchPower number. So it's going to pass this number, the value that is inside of this number variable, which is now 90, to the punch power instance variable by using this setPunchPower method. So this time, let's just use this step over, button here in order to execute this line of code here in its entirety. And now in the autos area, you can see that the value of the punch power instance variable is now 90. Why? Because this line of code here is now executed, and now it's about to execute this line of code here. Console.writeLine myboxer.get punch power, and now it's going to output the value of the punch power instance variable of the myboxer instance to the console. So let's actually click on this. Let me show you the console here. As you can see, it's just now 90, right? This is the value that we passed to this number variable here, and then it's going to actually pass that value to the punch power instance variable of the myboxer instance, and then it's going to actually put that value here in the console. So let's actually click on this step over, and now as you can see, the number 90 is here, right? So this number 90 here was actually the value that we actually as the user entered here. And now you can see this number 90, which is actually outputted by this line of code here, which we actually just executed here by just clicking on this step over button. And now it's about to finish executing this main method. If I clicking on this step over, it's gonna finish executing the main method, which means that our program is going to finish. Let me show you the console, and now let's click on this step over and finish. Our program is back into editing mode. So this is how you can actually debug your C# application and see whether your variables actually has a value or not, whether your codes, your methods are executed or not. If not, let's actually solve it. Let's solve the problem. Let's kill the bug. Let's eliminate the bug. So as you can see here, in order to actually delete this breakpoint here, you just need to click on it, okay? If you want to actually use debugging, you just need to click on debug and then click on start without debugging, and then it's not going to actually consider these breakpoints. But if you want to debug your application, you must set some breakpoints here so that your application starts somewhere in order to actually debug your application. So if you don't want this circle here, you can just right click on it and then click on delete breakpoint, or if you just want to temporarily disable this breakpoint, you can just click on this disable breakpoint, or you can just click on it in order to delete it.